Let me start by saying I never thought I'd be one of those military guys with a dramatic relationship story. I'm a 30-year-old U.S. Army Staff Sergeant, currently stationed at Yokota Air Base in Japan. My life was pretty straightforward. I loved my job, I loved my country, and I thought I loved my wife. We met during my last stateside deployment. Sarah was a local girl from my hometown in Ohio, smart, beautiful, and seemed supportive of my military career. When I got orders for Japan, she was excited about the adventure. We got married 6 months before my transfer, and she promised to come join me once all the paperwork and housing arrangements were settled. The first few months in Japan were incredible. The base was modern, my unit was tight-knit, and I was loving the cultural experience. I'd video call Sarah every other day, sending her pictures of my life here. The beautiful landscapes, the interesting assignments, the unique experiences. She'd tell me how much she missed me and was preparing to move. I was sending a significant portion of my salary to help with moving expenses and our future together. Everything seemed perfect. Too perfect, as it turns out. It started with small inconsistencies. Missed video calls, shortened conversations, vague responses about her daily life. At first, I chalked it up to the stress of planning an international move. I was understanding, patient. Military relationships are hard, and I knew communication could be challenging. Then came the night that changed everything. During a late-night call, I noticed something different. Her body language was off. Her eyes kept darting away from the camera. When I asked about her day, her responses were rehearsed, almost mechanical. My military training had taught me to read people, and something wasn't right. I started investigating subtly. I didn't want to be the stereotypical jealous husband, but my instincts were screaming. I asked mutual friends casual questions, checked our shared social media accounts. That's when I saw the first red flag, comments from her ex, Jake, becoming increasingly frequent and intimate. One of my military buddies, Rodriguez, noticed my distraction during a training exercise. When I finally opened up, he urged me to confront the situation directly. "Don't let uncertainty eat you alive," he said. "Communication is key." So, I decided to have a direct conversation with Sarah. I scheduled a video call, making sure I was in a private room on base. Little did I know, this call would be the beginning of the most painful revelation of my life. As the connection stabilized and her face appeared on the screen, I took a deep breath. "We need to talk," I said, my voice steady but my heart racing. "And I need complete honesty." What happened next would shatter everything I thought I knew about love, trust, and commitment. The conversation that followed was like watching a carefully constructed house of cards collapse in slow motion. Sarah's initial defensive posture quickly crumbled under my calm but direct questioning. At first, she tried to deflect, making vague statements about just being friends with Jake. But I'd been trained to extract information, and my patience was wearing thin. "How long?" I asked simply. Her silence was more revealing than any words could have been. Turns out, the affair had been going on for months. Not just a momentary lapse of judgment, but a calculated betrayal that had been brewing since before I even left for Japan. Jake was her high school sweetheart, the one she'd supposedly moved on from. They had reconnected through social media, and things had progressively escalated. The most painful part wasn't just the cheating. It was the calculated way she had been planning her exit strategy. The moving preparations? A complete fabrication. She never intended to join me in Japan. While I was sending money, supporting her supposed relocation plans, she was actually building a life with Jake back home. My military training kicked in. Emotionally, I was a mess, but externally, I remained composed. I documented everything. Screenshots of messages, call logs, social media interactions. Years of military protocol had taught me the importance of evidence. The financial implications were significant. I'd been sending her nearly $2,000 monthly to prepare for our life together. Money that was now essentially funding her life with another man. The betrayal cut deeper than any physical wound I'd ever experienced. Rodriguez found me that evening in the base rec room. I wasn't drunk. I don't drink, never have, but I was processing. He listened as I recounted the entire conversation, offering the kind of straightforward military brotherhood support that civilians rarely understand. "You've got options," he said. "Military law takes infidelity seriously, especially with the financial fraud she's committed." He was right. As a staff sergeant with a clean record, I had resources. The military takes care of its own, especially in cases of marital fraud. I could file for divorce, seek reimbursement of the funds she'd essentially stolen, and potentially have her actions impact her own future benefits. But it wasn't about revenge. It was about reclaiming my dignity, my future. The next few days were a blur of legal consultations, paperwork, and emotional processing. I requested a meeting with my commanding officer, a seasoned lieutenant colonel who had seen his share of military relationship challenges. Sometimes, he told me, the missions we fight aren't just on foreign soil. Sometimes, they're deeply personal. His words resonated. I was a soldier. I'd been trained to face challenges head-on, to adapt and overcome. This was just another mission. As I prepared the divorce papers and financial claims, one thought kept recurring. I would not let this break me. I would emerge stronger, more resilient. The real battle was just beginning. The divorce proceedings were surprisingly swift. Military legal support moved quickly, especially when financial fraud was involved. Sarah didn't even contest most of the claims. Her attempt to drain our joint accounts backfired spectacularly when the military's financial investigators got involved. Rodriguez and my other unit members became my unexpected support system. They covered my shifts when I needed time for legal meetings, brought me home-cooked meals, and made sure I wasn't isolating myself. Military brotherhood isn't just about fighting together. It's about supporting each other through life's toughest battles. 3 months after discovering the affair, I received the final divorce papers. The day they arrived, I didn't feel the crushing defeat I expected. Instead, there was a sense of liberation. I'd been carrying the weight of her betrayal, and now it was finally lifting. The financial aftermath was almost comical. Not only did I recover most of the money I'd sent her, but the military's investigation resulted in additional penalties for her. Jake, her new boyfriend, had no idea about the legal storm brewing. Turns out, fraternizing with a married military spouse who's committing financial fraud has its consequences. My commanding officer pulled me aside one afternoon. Sometimes, he said, the greatest mission is rebuilding yourself. He recommended I speak with the base counselor, and surprisingly, those sessions became my unexpected lifeline. I learned that processing betrayal isn't about revenge. It's about understanding, healing, and moving forward. Japan, which I'd initially associated with personal pain, became my place of healing. I started exploring more, learning the language, diving into local culture, making genuine connections with both local residents and my fellow service members. I took up Japanese martial arts, finding discipline and focus in their philosophy of self-improvement. A year later, I was a different person, stronger, more centered. The betrayal that I thought would break me had actually become the catalyst for my personal transformation. I'd learned that trust is earned, not given, and that my worth wasn't defined by someone else's actions. I'm not going to lie and say it was easy. There were nights of anger, of questioning everything. But military training teaches you resilience. You adapt. You overcome. Today, I'm focusing on my career, my personal growth, and creating a life that's entirely my own. The divorce is finalized, the financial claims are settled, and I'm stationed in a country that's become more than just a work assignment. It's become home. To anyone going through something similar, whether in the military or civilian life, remember this. Your story doesn't end with betrayal. It begins with how you choose to rebuild.